It's time for America Outdoors Radio, the show that covers the outdoor scene across the U.S. of A. and the entire continent. Fishing, hunting, conservation, outdoor recreation, and great destinations. We cover it all every week. It's your country, your outdoors. Let's explore it together with your host, John Cruz.
Welcome aboard. I am really excited about the show we've got for you today because we're going to be covering lots of fishing, and we're also going to introduce you to one of the most unique firearms I've ever heard of. The firearm in question, an alligator skin wrap bolt action rifle from the Southern Trapper. There's only 10 of these in existence, and Captain Bly, the man behind the Southern Trapper out of Charleston, South Carolina, harvested the alligators used to make these rifles. He'll tell you more about all of this towards the end of our program today. If you're into fly fishing, you're going to love our conversation with Tom Rosenbauer, too. He's written a book, now available in paperback from Lions Press, The Orvis Guide to the Essential American Flies. We'll talk about some of those flies today, the history behind them, and why they still work so well today. Another guest you'll hear from in just a minute is Bob Masecomer. He is starting a brand new fishing tournament circuit that will operate in the Midwest and the South that promises reasonable entry fees by today's standards for tournament bass anglers and hefty payouts, too. How hefty? Oh, about $40,000 hefty if you take first place in one of these tournaments offered by Team Fishing Circuit, the first one kicking off at the end of October in Tennessee. In addition to this, you'll also get to hear from Rick Patry, the man behind MonsterBass.com. This website offers you the chance to subscribe for a monthly tackle box of fishing lures, but there's a couple of twists here that separate this company from their competition. First off, the packages are broken down by region, which is a great idea. And second, they're even more customizable than that. In addition to giving you fishing lures from other companies, Monster Bass has come out with their own lure, a really great-looking topwater popper called the Mad Max. And guess what? We are giving 3 of these Mad Max poppers away to one lucky winner. If you want a chance to win, just go to our Facebook page at America Outdoors Radio, like and follow the page, find the post thread where we're doing this giveaway, and just let us know what state you're from. If you want a bonus entry, let us know what station you're listening to our show on today, too. We'll give this lure package away after our last broadcast next weekend. I told you we had a great show coming your way, and with that in mind, let's find out more about this brand new bass fishing tournament circuit. Our first guest today on America Outdoors Radio is Bob Masecomer. He is the producer of Simply Fishing TV. He's a Freshwater Hall of Famer, a 13-time world record holder, and the man behind the brand new Team Fishing Circuit. Bob, welcome to the show.
Well, good morning, John. Thanks for having me.
Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit more about this new National Bass Fishing Tournament Circuit, the Team Fishing Circuit? Give us the 30-second elevator speech, if you will.
Well, I'll sum it up by saying this. About 2 years ago, we sat with my boys. My boys are both good fishermen, and discussed the possibility of coming out with a unique team tournament that was geared to the working man and bring it out in a way that it was a division, East Division now, West Division next year. So we have 15 tournaments in 14 states coming up in 2022. And here comes COVID. Shut us right down. We decided we weren't going to do it. We start to see a little bit of the unwind of COVID. We decided to go ahead and launch it. Team Fishing Circuit is the opportunity for the working man to pair up with an angler, he or she, doesn't matter, and take one day out of their working week for an opportunity to fish on Saturday's Top Gun event. Now, how that works is we have a 6-day event. In a full field of 150 teams, that's 2-person teams, the winners would walk away with $40,000 for their efforts. Now, that's a 150-boat field. You would fish 30 boats on the water, period, for a day. So you only have to beat 24 other teams. Top 6 each day automatically berth to the Top Gun Championship on Saturday. The entry fees are relatively inexpensive by today's standards. It's $850 for a team to enter the event. And again, you're fishing for, on a full field, $87,000 total, $40,000 first place.
Wow. So 15 tournaments in 14 Midwestern and Southern states for 2021-2022, $85,000 cash back per event, $40,000 first prize per event, $850 entry fee per team, and 150 teams for each tournament. Now, you said this is for the working man. Does that mean that there's already an angler with a boat and you're a co-angler, or can me and my buddy who just want to compete in this compete?
No, you come as a team. You drag your boat, come in, get qualified, and you're on the water. That's simple. Pros, guides, amateurs, I'll use the term loosely, Joe Sixpacks that just want to come together from a club and come have fun. That's what it's all about, and take an opportunity at a very large purse.
Well, I love this. I know a lot of our listeners are thinking an $850 entry fee is steep, but like you said, Bob, in today's day and age where you're talking multi-$1,000 entry fees for a lot of tournaments, this is pretty inexpensive, and especially given the payout. How are you affording the payouts? Is it just through the entry fees, or do you have some corporate sponsor backing too?
No, we are self-funded. We are soliciting sponsorships. We are talking with brands right now. When we decided to launch this, I decided to roll out the money it would take to do it in hopes of 1 year in, we will have the backing we need financially from sponsor groups to not only make it more profitable, but bring more money to the tournament angler. One thing we do, we are a no-limit catch tournament circuit. So what that means is every fish 1 pound or greater will be scored if legally caught. That said, that means we need in-boat judges. The in-boat judges will be in place on a full field. We need 30 judges per day for 6 days. For that, we've gone to high schools, colleges, American Legions, VFWs, organizations that could bring together the 30 people that it takes to judge these tournaments. And for that effort, we're going to donate back to them $15,000 for their participation as in-boat judges. So there's a lot of money that's going out that people don't see in the mathematics of the payback. But the truth of the matter is, with sponsorships coming in, then we'll just enhance the payback.
Oh, I absolutely love this. So again, the 4-bat is not like the traditional bass tournament where you have your 5 biggest fish as a team and you come in and weigh them. This is more like Major League Fishing, where if it's a pound or better, it counts, it's weighed by the marshal on the boat, and it's let go. And I presume you have some sort of bass tracker where it's real time, where people know exactly how everybody's doing?
Your assumption is correct. We use a program called Real Live Well, and we will be tracking every fish, both photographic and with the data that comes in from the judge, and we'll be able to track this every day. Now, other teams and spectators on the side will also be able to do the same thing. On the final day, on Top Gun, we're going to close that down 2 hours before the end of the tournament, so you won't know who's leading the tournament on Top Gun Day. We'll keep that mystery alive for Top Gun. We're going to be more of a multimedia show. I've got 37 years in television, and we're going to take some of that expertise, and on our show trailer, we're going to have 80-inch monitors, 70-inch monitors. We're going to have all kinds of things across our 50-foot span that's going to be displaying not only sponsorships that come on board, but scenes from previous events or events current. And we're going to have this streaming at the same time. So we're looking forward to doing a very large multimedia show.
Well, this sounds absolutely fantastic. The tournaments are coming up quick, folks. And if you want to find out exactly where they're taking place for this season, the website to go to is teamfishingcircuit.com. Again, they're kicking off in late October. Teamfishingcircuit.com is the website to go to if you have a hankering to compete for some big money. And again, you're just a weekend warrior, working man who loves to go bass fishing and compete at a serious level. This could be the tournament circuit for you. Again, teamfishingcircuit.com is the website to go to find out more. Bob, thanks so much for sharing this with us today. Very exciting stuff.
Well, I appreciate it. We'll see everybody October 25th at Watts Bar in Tennessee. Come rub shoulders with people like Buddy Gross and other tournament pros. Get a few autographs done. Fish against these guys. Have a good time. That's what this is all about.
It sounds like a great circuit. Thanks again for sharing this with us today on America Outdoors Radio. We've been telling you about Sportsman's Cove Lodge in Southeast Alaska for a while now, and there's a reason. They are the only Alaska lodge we talk about in this show. It's because they're truly Alaska's best lodge. The adventure starts with a float plane ride from Ketchikan, after which you'll get the chance to experience some of the best hospitality, food, and wonderful people you'll ever meet. Wildlife is abundant, from bears and deer to eagles and whales, and let's not forget the reason you're here, the fishing. Halibut, salmon, lingcod, rockfish, true cod, and more. It's all waiting for you in abundance at Sportsman's Cove Lodge. Book your trip today at alaskasbestlodge.com. That's alaskasbestlodge.com for Sportsman's Cove Lodge.
Ready to step up to a quality-built rifle or shotgun that's a true classic? Check out Henry Repeating Arms, American-made. There's over 200 models to choose from in a variety of finishes and calibers for hunters and target shooters. Many of these are lever-action models with a look right out of the Old West. Don't be deceived, though. Henry Repeating Arms are modern, rugged, accurate, reliable, and have a lifetime guarantee. Find out more and order a free catalog today at henryusa.com. That's henryusa.com.
Backcountry Hunters and Anglers is the voice for your public lands, waters, and wildlife. From the Canadian Yukon to the Florida Everglades, we're stepping up to conserve North America's public lands, defend our hunting and fishing traditions, and expand public access to the outdoors. Our outdoor heritage depends on sportsmen and women like you speaking up for the natural resources that sustain our way of life. Find out how you can get involved at backcountryhunters.org and become a BHA member today.
A sharp blade makes short work of any project you have in the outdoors, in the kitchen, or in the shop. Hone your knives and tools with quality power and manual sharpeners from WorkSharp. Find out more at WorkSharpTools.com.
You're back in with America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. I have the pleasure of introducing you to Tom Rosenbauer. He's the author of the Orvis Fly Fishing Guide. He's a lifetime fly angler, works for Orvis, and he's got a brand new book out, The Orvis Guide to the Essential American Flies, How to Tie the Most Successful Freshwater and Saltwater Patterns. Tom, welcome to the show.
Thank you, John. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Well, I'll tell you what, I've got an advanced copy of this book, and you've hit a home run in terms of really having the essential flies in here. Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit more about this book?
I wrote the first version of this book in 2011. It was published by Rizzoli, and it didn't do that well for him. I worked really hard on it, and I got a lot of good comments on it. So I went to another publisher, Lions Press, and we published it in paperback, which I think is a little more economical for people. So it's a book about the essential American flies, those iconic flies that probably everybody has in their fly box. And over the years, I've found that people are really interested in where these flies came from. Where did something like a woolly bugger or an elk hair caddis or a Lefty's deceiver come from? Who developed them and why? And what was the thought process that went into these flies that, some of these are, 50, 60, 70 years old, and we're still using them. Why are we still using them? How were they developed? As well as step-by-step processes in how to make the flies. I talked quite a bit about the origin of the flies, and people seem to appreciate that.
Well, I'll be honest. I really thought this was just going to be a book about how to tie these fly patterns, but I love the fact that you go into the history of them, too. Speaking of the elk hair caddis, this is one of my favorite flies. Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about it and why it's still effective today?
Yeah, well, it's still effective today because it works, and we don't know why. It floats well, it's durable, it looks like a caddis fly, it probably looks like a moth, but the better flies just seem to stay with us because they work. It's a process of elimination. And this fly was developed by a guy who was originally from Pennsylvania named Al Troth. And Al was fishing in Montana, and he saw an elk hide somewhere. I can't remember where it was, but he saw an elk hide, and he'd been tying some flies with deer hair, and he looked at this elk and he thought, wow, that looks really durable. It looks a little brighter. I can see it on the water, but the elk hide was really stiff and it wasn't good to work with. So he put it in a stream for a couple days to soften it up and took some of the elk hair home with him to Pennsylvania and tied up these flies. He originally wanted it to be a wet fly, a subsurface imitation of caddisflies, but he couldn't get the darn thing to sink. So he said, well, maybe I got a dry fly. And, the rest was history. Probably one of the first people to use elk hair instead of deer hair as a wing on a fly, and it proved to be just what he wanted.
Another dry fly I'd like to mention here, I'm literally leafing through the book as you say this, and talk about some history here in terms of a very famous fly angler who invented it, the Royal Wolf. It's one of my favorites when it comes to cutthroat trout fishing in alpine lakes.
So that one was developed by Lee Wolf, who was probably the most famous fly anglers who ever lived. And there was an old fly called the Royal Coachman, which was developed, I think, around the 1880s. It was developed as a wet fly. And then it became popular as a dry fly. But the original fly was kind of spindly and sparse, and it used white duckquill wings, which aren't very durable, and they're hard to see on the water. And Wolf replaced the duckquill wings with whitetail deer hair, and he made the fly much bulkier, which makes it float better, the heavier water that we often fish, and it's easier to see, for us to see, and it's also easier for the fish to see. So he didn't develop the Royal Coachman, but he took it and modified it, which is often the way a fly gets developed, and called it the Royal Wolf.
The woolly bugger. I think this is a fly that every fly angler has in their box. Tell us about the origins of this one.
Well, this one's also, similar to Lee Wolf. There was a guy named Russell Blessing who was a very modest angler and never even wanted to take credit for the fly. And there's an old fly called the woolly worm, which is probably hundreds of years old. Very, very simple fly with just a chenille body and chicken hackle wound around it. And Blessing wanted to imitate Dobson flies, the Dobson fly larvae in Pennsylvania streams for fishing for smallmouth bass. So he took a marabou feather and stuck it on the end of the woolly worm. Marabou is a feather that comes from the underwing of a turkey, and it's very fluffy. You've probably seen it in fancy dancers' hair pieces and things like that. It's a very fluffy material. And he just stuck a long tail of marabou on the woolly worm, and the fly just proves to have irresistible action. It's it'll catch literally everything from bluegills to tarpon. It just works for everything.
Yes, it does. Let's talk about saltwater flies. Now, the foreword of your book is written by Lefty Kreh, and I believe one of his flies, Lefty's Deceiver, is mentioned in this book as well.
Yeah, Lefty was one of a kind. He was a very unique and innovative angler and did more to popularize fly fishing than anyone else in the 20th century. And he was a real character. Great guy. And he was an early saltwater fly angler, and sometime I think in the 1940s or 50s, he was trying to imitate baitfish in salt water, and there weren't very many good baitfish imitations, and most of them just had a chicken hackle for a wing and a chenille body just to kind of imitate the long, skinny, wiggly shape of a baitfish. And instead of putting the wing on in the front of the fly, because when you put the wing on the front of the fly, the hackle wing, it tends to wrap around the bend of the hook and foul, which makes the fly swim sideways in the water and doesn't look very realistic. So you put the hackle feather at the tail of the fly, and then put a bucktail collar, again, that deer hair that we use so much of, around the fly to keep it from fouling and to kind of create that baitfish shape. And it's still to this day is still one of the most popular and effective saltwater flies. It's my personal favorite. If I had one saltwater fly to use, it would be a Lefty's Deceiver.
That actually was going to be my next question. Well, fortunately, you just answered it, and unfortunately, we have to go. But folks, the Orvis Guide to the Essential American Flies. If you are a fly angler, this is a book you simply have to have. Where can folks get it, Tom?
They can get it anywhere they buy books, hopefully.
All right, well, look for it at Amazon.com. It's also available through Lions Press, and it's probably at a bookstore or fly shop near you. Again, the Orvis Guide to the Essential American Flies by Tom Rosenbauer. Tom, you did a great job with this book. I have no doubt it's going to sell very well.
Well, thank you so much, John.
Come explore the Dalles in Oregon for outdoors fun. Hike amongst the wildflowers, bike our riverfront trail, or visit the Gorge Discovery Center where you can enjoy a live raptor display, or even check out our National Neon Sign Museum. But don't forget the fishing. We've got salmon, steelhead, bass, walleye, and monster-sized sturgeon waiting just for you. When the day is done, tell those tall tales at one of our wineries, breweries, or restaurants and plan your next adventure. Find out more at explorethedalles.com.
Hunting and fishing are exercises in hope. Before you head into the woods, you hope to tag out on a deer you'll have to field dress. Before you make that first cast, you hope for a big fish to clean and fillet. When your hopes are realized, you'll need a sharp knife. Whether you sharpen that blade on a power sharpener in the shop or a manual sharpener in the field, WorkSharp has the tool for you. Look for WorkSharp products in sporting goods stores near you or online at WorkSharpTools.com.
Campers, adventure seekers, hunters, and foodies. No matter the lifestyle, we can all agree on one thing. Great food and great people are worth remembering. At Camp Chef, we don't just make grills. We create each product knowing that a warm meal is always better when it's shared with those we love. Learn more about Camp Chef grills, smokers, and portable cooking equipment at campchef.com. That's campchef.com for a better way to cook outdoors.
Next up on America Outdoors Radio, I have got some lures in my hand. And if you are a bass angler like I am, you know that poppers work very well as topwater lures in the fall, and these are some beauties. As a matter of fact, the one I'm holding right now, it's called the Mad Max. It's a 2.5-inch long popper, weighs 1/3 of an ounce, and it's from Monster Bass. It's a new company you may not have heard about before, but they are producing some really nice lures. With us here to tell you more about Monster Bass and these poppers, the Mad Max topwater poppers, is Rick Patry, the president and CEO. Rick, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
So, this is something you've been developing for a while. Tell our listeners a little bit more about the Mad Max Topwater Popper that retails, well, it's actually on sale at monsterbass.com for $8 each.
Yeah, so the popper is really the first official product release from Monster Bass. You know, the company's been around for a couple of years, and we took a really interesting approach to developing this product because I'm not a bait designer by trade, right? Like, you know, I run a company and, you know, we have a subscription box component. And about 2 years ago, we approached a bait manufacturer, asked them to give us some samples. I must have tested 20 different popper shapes, sizes, you name it. And we took the one that we liked the best and I started giving feedback. And the feedback that I would give was unlike anything that they had heard before because, again, I'm not a bait designer by trade. So the way that they talk, the way that they interact with their factories is probably totally different from the approach I took because I was coming at it from, I'm just an angler.
Right.
And here's what I want to see it do. So about 2 years ago, we came out with the first version of this product. And we didn't really release it. We just put it in our subscription box. And then we surveyed 5,000 consumers. What do you like about this bait? What don't you like? What would you like to see it do differently? I took all that feedback and I ranked it all based upon, you know, the number of responses. And then I took that feedback and I gave it back to my manufacturer. And the finished product that you're holding in your hand today is the result of the past 2 years of us giving feedback to our manufacturer based upon consumer interest and consumer feedback with the prototype that we were given.
Well, I'll tell you what, there's some things I really like about this popper. A lot of things, actually. Number one, love the color schemes that you've come up with. Number two, I guess you call it Flashaboo that you have on the tail of the popper. I know that's a big attractant. Number three, you've got that red hook. Only one of the hooks is red, but you got that red hook. I'm a big believer in red hooks. I learned that lesson about 16 years ago fishing for smallmouth. I was fishing a rattle trap with no red hook. The guy next to me had a red hook, outfished me like 10-1. I put the red hooks on, and I was catching up with him in no time at all. So this is great. And folks, we're actually going to give away 3 of these poppers today. Retail value on sale at monsterbass.com is $24, and we'll tell you how you can enter for a chance to win these at the end of this interview and also later in the show. But I don't want to spend too much time on that because I want to talk about Monster Bass. So if folks go to monsterbass.com, they have the ability to sign up and get basically lure boxes every month. Tell us how this works.
Yeah, so a subscription box in fishing is nothing new, right? There's a handful of them that have been out for a long time. And when I sat back and thought about what they do well and what they don't do well, I saw an opportunity. And the opportunity really was in that everyone just sends random baits to everyone. But the reality is the baits that you're throwing in Minnesota are not the same baits that you're throwing in Florida right here, right now. And so what we did was we broke the country into regions, and we handpick the baits based upon the area of the country where you live and fish. So the person in Florida is going to get something totally different than the person in Minnesota. So everything's going to be not only regionally, but seasonally appropriate. And for us, we think that that's the special sauce that really differentiates us from all the other subscription box components out there.
It differentiates you not only from the other subscription models, but even from a lot of the big box stores. I mean, especially when they first open. You go ahead and fill in the blank in terms of whatever name you want for a big box sporting goods store. You're going to see basically what's called a corporate push package that is national in scope, and a lot of the stuff doesn't work at all for where you live. So I love the regional approach that you have here. Let's talk a little bit about how the subscription models work at monsterbass.com.
Sure. So we've got a subscription box that's specific for bass. We've also got one that's multiple species. So whether you're fishing for bass or panfish, if you fish for both, we've got you covered. We also have 1, 3, 6, and 12-month subscriptions. We offer a discount based upon, you commit to a longer term, we're going to give you a discount up front. And then we also have different price points. So we've got a $25 box and a $35 box. Difference obviously is in the value. When you're spending $25, we're going to try to send you about, $38 to $40 worth of product. And at the $35 level, we're going to send you, $48, $50 worth every month.
Another question for you. When I was on the website, I saw that you have this regional approach, but it looks like you're even more customizable. You even had an example of, are you a bank angler or are you a boat angler? And that makes a big difference in terms of the tackle you're going to want to have. How does that work in terms of me getting a box if, let's just say, I'm a bank angler?
Yeah, so when you sign up with us, we're going to start to build a profile on you. We do. We want to know what you think your skill level is. We want to know where you fish. We want to know what your go-to baits are, right? Because some of what we're trying to accomplish here is really helping you become a more versatile angler, right? We all have our confidence baits, but the reality is sometimes fishing conditions are such that we really should be trying something different. And I think what getting a subscription to Monster Bass does is it really exposes you to some new brands, but also to some new opportunities to fish new techniques. We threw a Tokyo rig set up into a box, and, the number of people that said that they had never fished the Tokyo rig before was enormous. But, a month later, when we survey our customers and they talk about, I would have never done this had I not gotten the box, but now that I've done this, I've got confidence in doing it, and when the conditions present themselves, they're going to throw a Tokyo rig.
I like this. I like this a lot. Now, on top of the subscription boxes, you also have a store, and folks can just shop at your store for individual lures or six-packs, can't they?
They can. So, we're not trying to compete with insert any big box store or e-commerce play. But the reality is when I'm buying product for my subscription box, if I'm buying 100 units of Strike King Red Eye Shad and I only sell 95 boxes, if I've got 5 units left, I'm going to put them on the store. And then what we do is on Mondays, we have a VIP list. So you sign up on the website. It's completely free. And every Monday I send you a text message with, some ridiculous discount because I'm just trying to move that product out the door to my consumers. Like literally today, if you had signed up for our VIP list, you would have received a text for Free Bait Friday.
Oh, wow.
I'm not even joking when I tell you, we sent out a text today where you could get a free bomber fat-free shad, no catch, no minimum. Just log into the website, sign up, and the first 250 people that took this offer got a free bait.
That is a deal that is really hard to beat. Folks, all sorts of reasons, it sounds like, to go to monsterbass.com. That's the website, monsterbass.com. Whether you want to shop for individual lures or whether you want to sign up for a month, 3-month, 6-month, or annual subscription, getting a box every month that is tailored to your needs. MonsterBass.com sounds like a very good website to go to. Last but not least, folks, as promised, we are giving away 3 of these Mad Max topwater poppers. Retail value through MonsterBass.com is $24. If you want a chance to win them, 2 ways to do so. You can go to our Facebook page at America Outdoors Radio. Look for the post thread where we're doing the giveaway. Be sure to like and follow our page, and then just tell us what state you're from. That's all you have to do to enter. If you want a bonus entry, let us know what station you're listening to today as well. If you don't do Facebook, I get it. You can go ahead and contact us through our website at AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com. Just give us the same information, what state you're from and what station you're listening to. For 2 entries for these poppers, we will randomly draw a winner after our last broadcast next weekend. Rick, thank you so much, number 1, for providing these lures for the giveaway, and number 2, for what you do through MonsterBass.com. Definitely worthwhile what you're offering there.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on the show.
This portion of the show was brought to you by our friends at WorkSharp. They're the fine folks out of Ashland, Oregon, who make knife and tool sharpeners that you can use, whether you're hunting or fishing or camping or maybe in your shop, maybe in your kitchen, for all of the knives and tools you need sharpened every day when you work and play. WorkSharp tools can be found online at worksharptools.com, or you can find them in sporting goods stores and hardware stores all over our great nation. Just look for WorkSharp products to sharpen your knives and your tools, because nothing is worse than trying to get the job done right with a dull blade. Why book at Sportsman's Cove Lodge?
Why is Alaska like no other place on Earth? It hasn't changed in thousands of years.
From the way you get here on a float plane to the way you go out with the guides and the boats, it's just a professional experience.
And I said, this is as good as it gets. I said, if you can't catch fish here, you can't catch fish anywhere.
Your experience with us will leave you speechless.
Book now at alaskasbestlodge.com.
Hey, how'd the meeting go with Tommy's school counselor today?
Well, not exactly as planned. I think we need help.
Help? Why do we need help?
Well, I asked her about paying for college, and she said that's not something they do.
Maybe it is time to get some help. Even if Tommy just goes to state college, it's going to cost at least $25,000 a year. We'll have to rate our retirement, pay for Tommy's tuition. There's got to be a better way.
There is a better way. A way where you can pay less for college, or even receive college tuition free, regardless of your income or your student's grades. A way for you to keep your hard-earned income and savings for your future and spend less on college, while virtually eliminating the need for student loans. Get the facts about college admissions and tuition by going to tuitionprograms.org. That's tuitionprograms.org. Tuitionprograms.org. Get the facts about college admissions and tuition by going to tuitionprograms.org.
We love our children. We protect them. We guide them. We prepare them for life in the world. With all that we do from deep in our hearts, we cannot control all things. Life-threatening illnesses and disabilities affect far too many of our children each year. While we cannot change the circumstances, we can make dreams come true. Dreams to provide hope, to provide spiritual healing and strength, to provide moments of happiness and relief in the darkest of times. We can give a glimmer of light and hope in a time of darkness and despair. Join huntofalifetime.org to help make dreams come true, to provide hope for children with life-threatening illnesses and disabilities. Hunt of a Lifetime is a nonprofit organization fulfilling dreams for hunting and fishing trips to youth 21 and under with life-threatening illnesses and disabilities. Visit huntofalifetime.org to learn how you can make a difference. That's huntofalifetime.org.
You're back in with America Outdoors Radio, and for our final segment, we've got something completely different and super cool. We are talking to Captain Bly. He is the man behind Southern Trapper, based in Charleston, South Carolina, and they have come out with an exclusive line of handcrafted alligator skin wrapped rifles. Captain Bly, welcome to the show.
Thank you, John. Glad to be here.
So I understand there's only 10 of these rifles available. Tell our listeners more about this really unique collection of alligator skin wrapped rifles. I've never even heard of such a thing before.
You know, that does not surprise me. I would like to think that the reason full alligator skin rifles have never been produced before is because nobody's crazy enough to do it. But about 2 years ago, we started with the concept of how neat it would be to have a hunting rifle made from a hunted wild animal. And ultimately, my bread and butter is in the alligator leather. So sort of came to fruition, and we're only making 10 of them. We've already made the 10. We'll never go back and make a left-handed rifle for anyone. So the 10 that we have made, they are all right-handed.
Let's talk about the base that this is built upon. What kind of rifle, what calibers are we talking about here?
Yeah, so this is going to be built on the Blaser R8 platform. So it's a modular bolt-action rifle where the actions and barrels are all interchangeable. I can give you an idea on the calibers, but they range. I think there's about 47 different calibers going from, a 22 all the way up to a 300 Win Mag. So
wow.
You've got plenty of different calibers to choose from while you're out, hunting.
How do you go about wrapping the stock and forearm with alligator skin? And the next question I have is how functional is this out in the field? Tell me more.
Yeah, so producing the patterns required to wrap the entire rifle in alligator is incredibly time consuming. What you have to factor in is that while you're working on the leather, you have to stretch it. So we soak the leather and then wrap it around, the parts of the rifle that we're sort of coating. And then we have to hand sew it. Everything is entirely done by hand. Can't use, any sort of expensive sewing machines to sort of sew through the materials that we're working with. And you just physically couldn't access some of these parts. So everything's entirely done by hand. It's an incredibly time-consuming process. We can, create as many patterns as we want, but, if they're not laid correctly, if they don't dry correctly, and if they're not, hand-sewn correctly, they're all kind of worthless. So some of the reason why it took about 2 years to produce is for that particular reason. It's literally entirely made by hand.
Getting back to the functionality, guess I've handled alligator skin wallets before, but I guess I've never even thought of hunting with a rifle that's wrapped in alligator skin. How does it do in the elements? I mean, is it slippery? Is it hard to handle? Or is it really comfortable to handle?
Yeah, great question. So in terms of, I would say, comfort and durability, two opposing ideas. From a durability standpoint, alligator leather is a very tough leather. So it's going to be, naturally resistant to, scratching and, any sort of, fading. So I would like to think that, this is a rifle that you could leave out, in the sun for a month and, the color wouldn't, entirely fade like a lot of different leathers would. When I say it's scratch resistant, I don't mean that you could, take this rifle and throw it down a mountain and there's not going to be, any scratches on it. That certainly would occur. But, from a durability standpoint, the leather itself is very tough. But if you were to, sort of, abuse it, certainly yes. I mean, it is made out of real fine American alligator leather. You should, be conscious of that, but you can certainly hunt with it in the rain, in the snow, and in the desert. You're not going to have any issues if you do sort of take care of your rifle.
Now, folks, if you're listening to this and you've got your mobile device with your computer, you really should check out the website. They got some pictures of this rifle. It's thesoutherntrapper.com, thesoutherntrapper.com. I got to admit, it's absolutely beautiful. And another part of the story I think we have to share is you harvest the alligators used for this and your other products yourself, don't you?
Yes. I love alligator hunting. I actually just harvested a 10-foot monster with my wife on her birthday last Sunday.
I'm guessing you're not doing this in South Carolina. Are you heading down to Florida to harvest your gators?
Well, we did harvest this 10-footer recently in South Carolina. But yes, we'll go to Florida, Louisiana, Texas to hunt our alligators.
Absolutely amazing. Last question, and I assume it's going to vary based on the caliber here, but the price, this can't be cheap.
You are correct. This is not a cheaply made or thrown together rifle. The fully functional rifles start off just at about $24,500, and then they increase from there depending on any additional, optics or bells and whistles like matching rifle cases and anything of that sort. So they pretty much start at $24,500.
Do you anticipate that people spending this kind of money for this rifle, that it's just going to be a wall hanger, or is this also built to actually be used in the field too?
That's a great question. The last rifle I sold was to this wonderful huntress in Mississippi. She made me expedite her shipping to get it to her in 2 days so that she could use the alligator rifle while she's on an alligator hunt that she was hosting. Alternatively, a rifle I sold a few months ago is sitting in a glass case, a beautiful glass case with some absolutely extravagant other rifles and handguns that are mind-blowing to see as part of a collection. I think the users are going to be using them out in the field and, as a show and tell piece.
Definitely a show and tell piece to be sure, and definitely sounds like it'd be great to have in the field too. Again, folks, there's only 10 of these handcrafted alligator skin rifles available from Southern Trapper. Check them out at thesoutherntrapper.com, and you better speak up quick if you want one, because even at this price, these things are just so unique and so amazing. I have no doubt they're going to sell out in a hurry. Captain Blythe, thanks for sharing this with us today on America Outdoors Radio.
You're more than welcome, John. Thank you.
An alligator skin-wrapped rifle. That is really impressive, I've got to admit. But there's some other impressive rifles out there, too, that are also made right here in the USA. And you'll find those from Henry Repeating Arms. And if you haven't been online at henryusa.com lately, you really need to check out the lineup. They've got some beautiful tribute edition rifles. I mean, beautifully engraved rifles, lever action, different calibers that, number one, are fun to shoot. They're all rugged. They're all reliable. They're all accurate. They all have a lifetime satisfaction guarantee. And like I said, they're all made in America, but they're absolutely beautiful too. These are rifles you'll want to have in a display case or on the wall for everybody to see. They're just that good looking. Again, check them out at henryusa.com. If you have any questions, just ask the award-winning customer service staff. They'll be happy to help you. And don't forget to ask for your free decals and catalog too. That website, one more time, henryusa.com. As we wrap things up, I want to give you one more reminder about that giveaway we're doing from Monster Bass. If you want a chance to win 3 topwater poppers from Monster Bass, the Mad Max topwater poppers, absolutely beautiful, 1/3 ounce, 2.5 inches long. They'll work great for bass, and I suspect big crappie and bluegill too. Just go to our Facebook page at America Outdoors Radio. Like and follow the page. That's step number 1. Step number 2 is look for the post thread where we've got a picture of these 3 poppers we're giving away. And just let us know what state you're from. That's all you have to do for an entry. But if you want a bonus entry, let us know what station you're listening to today as well. We'll pick one lucky angler who gets all 3 of these poppers from Monster Bass after our last broadcast next weekend. It is time to go, but with October here, I've got to tell you, this really is a wonderful time to go fishing and, of course, hunting. You got the best of both worlds. You get to both cast and blast this month, and I hope you'll be lucky enough to do both. Until next time, be blessed, and do remember this. It is your country and your outdoors, so get out there and enjoy it.
We love our children. We protect them. We guide them. We prepare them for life in the world. With all that we do from deep in our hearts, we cannot control all things. Life-threatening illnesses and disabilities affect far too many of our children each year. While we cannot change the circumstances, we can make dreams come true. Dreams to provide hope, to provide spiritual healing and strength, to provide moments of happiness and relief in the darkest of times. We can give a glimmer of light and hope in a time of darkness and despair. Join huntofalifetime.org to help make dreams come true, to provide hope for children with life-threatening illnesses and disabilities. Hunt of a Lifetime is a nonprofit organization fulfilling dreams for hunting and fishing trips to youth 21 and under with life-threatening illnesses and disabilities. Visit huntofalifetime.org to learn how you can make a difference. That's huntofalifetime.org.